Here we are at Rink 1 of Chiller North. Today we're going to talk about how to operate the scoreboard on Rink 1. Most times when you come to the rink, the scoreboard will already be started up. However, if you're the first game of the day, you may need to begin by turning on the scoreboard. There's an on button over on the side that you turn on. There's also a scoreboard prompt here that will walk you through the setup process. It'll answer if you want to resume, start where you turned off before. The answer to that question will be no. It'll then ask you, do you want to go to a bookmark? The answer to that would be no. At that point in time, it'll prompt you to enter the manual code. As you can see on the reference page that's included right by the scoreboard control board, you enter 871. At which point in time, it'll give you the prompt, do you want to use a penalty timeout? You want to answer no to this particular question. At that point in time, you'll see that the scoreboard is set up and set at 0. One of the first functions you'll do when beginning to set the scoreboard up for the game is to set the time. You set time by pushing the set button, the time button, then you enter from left to right the minutes and seconds. So here we're going to enter 12 minutes. Notice that for the score in particular, it requires tenths of a second, so you'll put in that additional 0. If that's the correct time, you can click yes. When you're setting the time, this is the only point in time on Rink 1 where you're able to change periods. When it asks for a period, you can push in period 1 or whatever the appropriate period is. You can now see that this is projected up on the scoreboard. Starting and stopping the clock is accomplished by turning this toggle. This turns the clock on. To the left turns the clock off. The time that's shown up on the scoreboard will be displayed on your control board right here in front of you. For a goal, all goals are tabulated into the machine specific to the home score or the guest score. If you want to add a home score, you press set, home score, and the score to be entered. You can see right when this is done, it enters the score up on the scoreboard. If this is correct, you can place yes. If a correction needs to be made with the score, say you gave the score to the home team, whereas it was intended to be for the away team, you could set home score, change this to 0, set your guest score, and set that score at 1, and press enter. You can see that the appropriate corrections were made up on the scoreboard. Penalty minutes are also done with specific buttons for home penalties as well as guest penalties. If there's a stoppage of play, you can enter a penalty. Use the set button. If this is a home penalty, you would press home penalty. Here you see that you need to enter the minutes and seconds of the penalty. For purposes of this example, let's say it's a 1-minute penalty. And you click yes if the time is correct. The number of the players entered. Here you'll see that the timing projects up on the scoreboard. We did enter the player's number on this particular scoreboard in Rink 1. That number does not project up on the scoreboard. However, you must enter the player's number for it to accept the penalty. As you notice, you do not need to run the penalty clock differently than the game clock. Once the game clock is begun, it is linked to the penalty clock, so that when you start and stop each, they will start and stop at the same time. Keep in mind, entering penalties is specific for both home as well as guest. If you need to set a guest penalty, you use the set button, you find the guest penalty button, and proceed in that same manner. If, for instance, you have a penalty on the same team, both at the same time that are occurring concurrently, you can also enter an additional penalty. You can see here the clock is stopped with 47 seconds left, and there's a penalty on the home team. We can enter an additional penalty on the home team by doing set, home penalty. We'll once again set this for 1 minute and enter it. Put in the player number, and you see up on the scoreboard that both penalties are shown. You do not need to erase a penalty when it is expired. Also, if there is a power play goal scored, typically scorekeepers do not erase that from the scoreboard. They will release the player from the penalty box, but do not often go through the difficulty of erasing the penalty from the board. Everyone in the rink, the individuals in the penalty box, know that that penalty has been erased because of the goal or that the time has been expired. In between periods, you would set the time the same as you did for the beginning of the game. You set this adjustment by doing set time. Let's say the second period is also going to be 12 minutes. Correct yes. Again, keep in mind that now that you're between periods, this is your option to change the period to second period. And this projects up on the board. Most scorekeepers do know general hockey rules. Regarding specific guidance on when to start and stop play, this will be guided by the referee. There's almost no circumstances within hockey where you'll be asked to stop the clock where the referee whistle does not blow. Whether it be a goalie who has frozen the puck, an icing call, an offsides call, or some other penalty, the referee will signal stoppage of play with the whistle. When play resumes through a face-off, once the puck touches the ice, you can go ahead and again and start the clock. At the end of the period, the buzzer will sound automatically. That buzzer may be turned off by pushing the stop button. This is a brief review of the scorekeeping functions on the scoreboard for Rink 1 at Schiller North.